If you feel like you are held back by your past in any way, shape, or form, there's some great news for you here today, because you might be surprised to learn that some of the smartest minds in science, specifically in psychology, have come out with a brand new theory called prospection theory, which I'll tell you a little bit more about in a second, that suggests that you are not who you are today based on your past, but in fact, you are who you are today based on who you imagine yourself becoming in your future. Now, this is great news for those of us that feel like maybe, just maybe, I don't have a past that would suggest I can do anything incredible with my life. But if this is true, which it is, if it's true that you are not who you are today based on your past, but based on who you imagine yourself becoming, do you know what this means? This means that regardless of what's happened in your past, regardless of the shortcomings or the failures or the times you fell short in your past, you have the ability to choose a new future. You can envision yourself in the future in a totally different way, regardless of what's happened in your past. And what that means is, by the way, that you can create whatever life you want. And this is mind-blowing, because if you realize that your past is put in concrete, it can't be changed. You can think about it differently, but that's outside the scope of this conversation. But it's done, it's gone, it's beyond you now. But what's in front of you still can be created. You can choose whatever future you want to create. In fact, we do it every day. We humans are wired to create a future reality. But the problem that most people face is that most people create a future reality based on, that's right, their past. And so we look through the lens of our past to see the future of our life. So we think, well, I went through these things, or that's how I was raised, or these were my friends, or that was my social group, or that's the college I went to, or these are all the things that happened to me. And all of a sudden, we look at all those things from our past, and we start to then view our future through the lens of all the experiences we've had behind us in life. And the challenge there, obviously, is that you're looking through a lens that's already been created by the world, by other people. But you, friend, can choose to take off those lenses, throw them to the side, and realize this truth, which is coming from the theory called prospection theory, that you can put on a new lens, a lens that says, I am creating my life now based on who I imagine myself becoming in my future. Now think about it this way. I will prove to you that this is true. I'll give you two very simple stories, and it will completely have you convinced that this is true, and you can start implementing it into your life to create yourself into any kind of person that you want to be. In fact, the unstoppable version of you that you're meant to be. So think about these two different people. One person views himself as becoming a world-class chef at an incredible world-class restaurant. Another person views himself as someone that's destined to become the greatest NFL quarterback that's ever played the game. And these two people live two very different lives. Now, are those lives based on their past? No. Both of these individuals live lives based on who they envision themselves becoming. Because right now, this chef is flipping burgers at a local restaurant that barely gets any foot traffic and no one comes into, but he knows that he's destined to be a world-class chef, so he's doing whatever he can now to position himself to create that future that he's imagining. Well, he's flipping burgers at a place that nobody even knows about yet. Nobody has acknowledged his talents. Nobody is praising him for his works or suggesting to him that he can do something special, but he sees in his own mind that he can do something great with his life. And this person right now, by the way, is just a little middle school football player thinking to himself, I can one day be the greatest quarterback on the face of the planet that has ever lived. And so these two people will take actions according to the future they imagine. Now, listen to this quote by the father of psychology in America, William James, and you will start to grasp what I'm suggesting. This is one of my favorite quotes. William James once said, or maybe probably many times said, act, look, feel successful. By the way, successful means whatever you imagine yourself to become, like whatever the ideal vision of your life is. Act, look, feel successful, conduct yourself accordingly, and you will be amazed at the positive results. What this means is every time we take an action in our life, we are wiring our brains to see ourselves in alignment with that action. And if that action is in alignment with who we see ourselves becoming, we will start to become that person. One of the greatest personal development teachers, one of the original greats, in fact, in personal development, Earl Nightingale, wrote a great book called The Strangest Secret and Lead the Field, among others. He said, we become what we think about most of the time. Now, friend, this obviously begs the question, what are you thinking about most of the time? You see, most people are thinking about their problems from their past, that they're like, man, I can't believe I went through that, or that's a challenge, or I wish I would have done that differently. Or they're thinking about their problems in their current reality, like, I'm going through this thing, or this is where I'm falling short, or this is how I failed. And they're thinking about the ways in which they are limited in their life presently. But the people that do the most incredible things in the world, they are the ones that look past their past. They look past what's currently holding them down, and they look to an exciting future that gets them feeling fired up to take the action that will ultimately construct them into the kind of person that can live the life that they're imagining. And so, friend, this is good news for those of us that feel like maybe our past isn't what we hoped it could have been, to position ourselves to do something incredible with our lives, because right now, you and I and every human on this planet who acknowledges this as truth, we can make a new choice in our life. We can see ourselves differently in the future. We can imagine a bigger, better, brighter future right now. And as we imagine that future, we can start to act as if we are that person. Let me go back to the example. I talked about the chef flipping burgers. Now you've got the kid playing middle school football that's like, man, I'm on the offensive line, or I'm on the defensive line. I'm not even a quarterback right now, but I know I have a dream to be the greatest quarterback on the face of the planet. You might say, well, that person's probably not destined to be the greatest quarterback on the face of the planet because that person's not built for that, or like that's like Tom Brady or Bradshaw, or like name a few great quarterbacks from the NFL. You're like, well, it's reserved for just a handful of people. Yes, but catch this. What do you think will happen to this middle school football player who right now is not a quarterback, but is playing on the offensive line, but is dreaming about being the greatest quarterback on the face of the planet? What do you think this kid's going to do? This kid's going to show up and put in the effort to become the greatest quarterback on the face of the planet. He's going to go out and he's going to play catch with dad or mom or a friend or a cousin or whoever he can. He's going to do the extra sprints, the extra push-ups, the extra laps. He's going to be the first one to practice, the last one to leave. He's going to be intentional with every rep. And that is how we construct ourselves into the kind of person that can do the thing we imagine ourselves to do. Now, catch this. If this kid playing middle school football right now never becomes the greatest quarterback on the face of the planet, but finds himself being directed in a new way because he put in that kind of effort to become that great quarterback, how do you think that kid's life is going to turn out? My point is this, friend. Every decision we make today is based on who we believe ourselves to become. And those decisions we make today, if they're based on who we're visioning ourselves to become, will absolutely mold us into a certain kind of person. And if this is true, which it is, then we got to be really, really intentional about who we imagine ourselves becoming in the future. And friend, right now, if you're not dreaming of a bigger, better, brighter future for yourself, if you're not envisioning yourself as an unstoppable person that's achieving at the highest levels, that's working through the challenges and the obstacles of life with great attitude and mindset, with health and strength and courage and boldness, if you are not imagining that version of yourself right now, then friend, you got to start to think differently. You got to start imagining yourself as the unstoppable version of yourself, as the person that persists, as the person that dreams big, as the person that accomplishes big things. And you might say, JJ, you're just trying to get me hyped up, aren't you? Yes, I am. Do you know why? Because energy is everything. And if you make a decision about your future in a low energy state, or in a place of disbelief or limited thinking, then you will see your future and yourself in your future in a very limited way. And friend, I refuse to allow anyone that I have the chance to speak to think anything less than their greatest potential. Friend, I want to encourage you with all of my heart and my soul right here, right now, to refuse to settle for anything less than your greatest potential. And if you can start to expand your mind about what's possible for you, then you will start to change your life in this moment. The moment you start to see yourself and your future differently, that is the moment you will start to live differently today. Like, here's an example. If I envision myself as the greatest motivational speaker in the world, traveling to countries all over the world, reaching millions of people with my speaking, with my videos, with my coaching, with everything, then I'm going to do whatever it takes to give it everything I have in every video that I make. Every time that I step up in front of a group. Every time I'm having a conversation with another human being. Even if the purpose of that conversation is not for me to coach or encourage that person. I'm going to show up as my best and I'm going to be my best because I imagine myself in a particular way in my future. And so I will act differently based on seeing myself in that way in the future. And you will too. So start to expand your mind about what's possible, about who you can become. And I promise you, it will instantly change your life. Because as soon as you shift your mind from thinking, I am who I am based on my past, to realizing the truth that you are who you are today based on who you imagine yourself becoming, that's the moment your whole life will change forever. Because you are no longer held back by the chains of your past. You are propelled forward by the vision, the exciting vision of the future that you're going to live, of the destiny that you know you're here to accomplish. So friend, whatever you're going after, refuse to settle for anything less than your greatest potential. Choose to show up every day and act and live with the energy, the attitude, and the mindset of the best version of yourself, and you will construct yourself into an unstoppable version of you. Keep going, friend. You've got this.